All right, we continue to look at the impact that COVID-19 is having on various sectors. So the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted, of course, in a worldwide economic downturn, and the national lockdown will have long-standing financial implications for many South Africans. So the lockdown has had adversely affected the capacity of the real estate sector to operate, which has threatened the viability of many estate agents. The CEO of the Estate Agency Affairs Board, Mamodupi Mohlala, joins me now via Skype. A very good evening to you, ma'am.
Good evening, madam, and good evening to your listeners to your viewers at home. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about the extent to which the property industry has been affected as a result of COVID-19.
Well, as you said in your intro, the property sector started feeling the pinch or started bleeding even before the COVID-19. With the economic downturn, the immediate impact was felt within the property sector. But I think we were then dealt a very decisive blow after COVID-19, because COVID-19 with the accompanying regulations then dealt a very decisive blow on the industry, in that our estate agents were robbed of a major tool of the trade, which is face-to-face interactions or face-to-face viewings of properties. And with that in place, that they cannot undertake face-to-face viewings, it has then had a serious impact on new leases and new purchases of property, and that has really hit the income of a lot of estate agents within the sector.
Let's break it down very simply, just before we move on to something else. I mean, this would literally mean if someone was in the process of buying a house once the lockdown was put into place, the deeds office is closed. So if you wanted to sell your house as well, that entire process has come to a standstill, and then estate agents are making absolutely no money during this period.
That's correct, Criselda. This is more especially because estate agents are not people who have a month-to-month income. They work based on commission. Now, if a property transaction was underway, then that would immediately have come to a halt. But moreover and above that, new transactions cannot be initiated, because I'm sure you know, consumers, when they purchase property or even when they lease property, they want to view the property and satisfy themselves that it meets their needs, it meets their standards. And this is not only for residential, even for commercial properties, the same standard would go. Now, with the lockdown and the regulations that prohibit that kind of contact, and the fact that the real estate sector does not fall under level 4, but only falls under level 2, the estate agents' hands have been completely tied, which means they're completely without an income. And that's how dire the situation is within the sector. And that is why, as the EAB, we have joined with the estate agents in their plea to the minister that she appeal for the estate agency sector to be moved from level 2 to level 4, subject obviously to whatever precautionary requirements may be put in place to make sure that human life is not sacrificed in any particular way.
And that was exactly my next point. With the property sector only expected to operate at level 2, let's talk about what assistance the Estate Agency Affairs Board is giving stakeholders in the sector to mitigate some of those challenges. We'll talk about the other classifications in a moment.
Okay, yes. As a regulator, I'm sure you know that really our ability to provide relief is obviously restricted is limited to the extent that we can in terms of the law and the regulatory environment that we work in. But we are aware that as a regulator, we levy a lot of fees on estate agents. For instance, their registration fee, which gives them a fidelity fund certificate for them to operate. We also may charge them fees for education and training and for continuous professional development. And we also have in place what we call audit fees, which are fees which is the obligation for them to submit audit reports on an annual basis, whereby they indicate how much money they've earned in their trust account, and then they're obliged by law to contribute 50% to our fidelity fund. So what we have said as the Estate Agency Affairs Board, we need to relax those requirements, and we've even received an appeal from the industry that for this financial year they be completely exempt from paying some of those fees. Now, with regard to the educational and the continuous professional development requests, we ascended to that. We asked for an extension till September, and that we have granted. With regard to the other requirements, we have penned down a request to the minister for approval, because we do have certain statutory limitations in relation to what we can approve and what we can't. But but we are engaging with the minister.
How far is that engagement at this stage? Is there any likelihood of getting an answer anytime soon? I've spoken to quite a number of estate agents who are very concerned, of course, about the classification at level 2. I know that they've raised those concerns with you as well. Is there any indication about when you possibly will get some kind of a response with regard to that reclassification?
We don't have an exact timeline, but I know that it's receiving the urgent attention of both the department and the minister. And I believe that the Director General has been in ongoing discussions with the chairperson of our board and with the Estate Agency Affairs Board on expediting a resolution to this particular matter, because it's quite critical that there be some resolution. And I do believe that there has been, at least, even if it's a slight breakthrough, I'm sure you did see the regulations that were gazetted last week, which allowed at least for one movement in relation to people who have concluded lease agreements and want to go into new premises.
Yes.
So at least that is a small movement in that direction. But the reclassification, we believe that discussions are underway. And I also believe that even the industry itself is not just sitting back and being despondent. We have been informed by a lot of industry players that they're now trying to facilitate for remote viewing of properties. So they're also trying to put in place other measures in the interim whilst the discussions are still taking place.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Thank you very much indeed. The CEO of the Estate Agency Affairs Board, Mamodupi Mohlala.